having raised two boys, and I divorced their father. So they grew up with a single mom for especially the first few years. Could my situation have been the perfect storm for creating the next mass shooter? Anybody could argue, yeah, right? You know, these young men, they all look pissed off. Hey everybody, welcome to No BS Parenting. My name is Pamela and I'm the mom of two outstanding young men. I'm going to give you my opinion on everything parenthood, but I don't recommend my channel for minors because of my potty mouth. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for future videos. Let's go! Hi everybody, welcome back to No BS Parenting. My name is Pam. Today I want to talk about the mass shootings that have been happening in the United States. I'm in Canada, so obviously I'm not living the realities of what you are in the United States. I do have a lot of family in El Paso, Texas. I went to school there when I was a little kid, grade 2, on Fort Bliss. And the family that I have there I'm very close to in El Paso, aunts, uncle, cousins, and so on. And when the shooting, I happened to turn on the news when it was still an active shooter, and obviously contacted the family right away, and thank God everybody was good. But it was absolutely terrifying for the first few minutes, knowing that there was a crazy gunman walking around in a mall that my family probably goes to. I have to tell you that as a Canadian, when I was living there and going to school on a military base, I was amazed at the patriotism that existed there. I mean, they were, every morning singing the national anthem, and I remember thinking, wow, we're not like that in Canada. We don't do that in Canada. We don't sing the national anthem. And I remember thinking about the pride that the teacher and everybody, when they did that, it was a standard. It was such a rich culture of pride in their country. But to come back to these boys that are doing this mass shooting, I have a lot of personal opinion on it because I've raised two young men. I have two sons, 20 and 23, as I mentioned before. And so, my boy, especially my eldest, who is very fair colored skin, hair color, very light, like his father. I'm Mexican, French, Canadian. The father was Irish, French, Canadian. So my two boys look very, very different. And my eldest could fit physically in the category of these boys that are committing these horrible mass shootings. And I have to look at it from a parent's perspective. But before I dive into that, I want to give a little bit of my opinion on the rest of it. The whole gun control issue, I don't get it, I have to say. In Canada, we have logical gun laws. They're logical in my perspective because nobody can walk around with an AK on their back. I've seen all these pictures floating around with these jackasses walking around with AKs strapped to their bodies. It's ridiculous. I don't understand it. It puts everybody's life in peril. I don't get it. It's completely illogical to me. We're all human beings. Human beings, we're social animals. We live in communities, and everything that we do affects everybody around us. So your individual rights to want to walk around with a weapon of war, they don't override my personal need to be safe and to breathe. So I don't understand all the laws, but I'm not going to get into that whole conversation. I'm very active on Twitter, so there's a lot of conversation. Twitter can be very toxic sometimes. Sometimes it gets to me and I got to shut it off and I got to stay away from it for a while. But, there's obviously a lot of talk, not just on Twitter, but on the news about Trump's responsibility in the whole thing. And I don't care. Republicans, you can all fucking bite me. I don't care how you spin it. I don't care how you want to protect and defend Donald Trump, but his words absolutely do matter. He's the president of the United States, puke. He is the leader of the free world. And having someone in that kind of position of power using words of his own citizens like invasion, like infestation, attacking 4 women, minority women in Congress. Unbelievable. So I just believe that absolutely has an impact. The other thing that I want to talk about that obviously nobody's talking about on a massive level, there is a little bit of chatter about it, but being that I'm coming on this channel from a perspective of a parent, of a mom, I wanted to talk about that element. Because having raised two boys, and I divorced their father, So they grew up with a single mom for especially the first few years. There could my situation have been the perfect storm for creating the next mass shooter? Anybody could argue, yeah, right? So I wanted to talk about that perspective because I think that we need to talk a little bit more about, again, how much parenting has consequences for life. Everything that we do as parents it has a lasting effect in the adult you're creating. You know, these young men, they all look pissed off. They all look lost. They all look like these wounded little insecure boys who are so angry they have to lash out at somebody. So they link on to white supremacist groups, or to groups against Jews, against Muslims, against the LGBTQ community. They got to latch onto something that makes them feel like they belong to some kind of community, because obviously they're missing that sense of belonging at home. And the worst case scenario happens, like these mass shootings. Everything starts from the beginning. My ex-husband and I, one of the reasons we divorced, and I take full responsibility for my part. God knows I'm not perfect, but he was raised by an abusive man. His father was abusive, so he had a lot of issues that carried on for him as an adult, unfortunately. And that was part of the element that destroyed our marriage. And when I became a single mother, which I chose, it was my doing, it wasn't him, I was the one that left, because I figured it was the better option than raising my children in a toxic house. And that all of a sudden there was no male figure. My father and I have not been very close for many, many years for a bunch of reasons I'm not going to get into. My ex-father-in-law, the father of my ex, was a piece of shit, and he wasn't very present. And actually I made the decision, once he put his hands on my kids, to block him. So my boys, for the first 4 years that we were alone, had no male figure in their lives whatsoever. Basically it was me, my sisters, my mother, any cousins that they had access to, all that kind of stuff. So there was no real male role model. So me being a mom, I was very conscious of that reality and really went out of my way to try to compensate as much as I could. Now, you can't replace a father. A mother can't replace a father. Men have just as much importance in raising a child as a mother does. But I really tried to make sure that I was a good example, and I went volunteering with my boys, senior housing, and to spend time with the elderly. And I've done fundraisers for people who have had tragedy or bad circumstance of their lives, and I've done raising money and goods and items for the local communities that lived in poverty, and had my boys implicated in that as well, just to to show them that it's not just about them, that because we're human beings and we live in societies, we have a responsibility to be good to each other. And that was part of my philosophy in bringing my boys up. And I personally, because my eldest is, he's a fantastic young man, very independent, in a very healthy relationship with a young lady who is wonderful, by the way. And because of his personality, and he's not very social, and he's very much of an introvert, with him, a lot of these kids start off that way, because you talk about the nurture versus nature aspect, and psychologists would agree with me that there is that foundation that every one of us starts with. My two boys, same parents, very different people. And then the rest of their personality is molded by the experiences that they have with their family in their home as kids, and then it shapes who they are as people later on. And I truly believe that all of that time and energy, and limiting their access to things that weren't healthy for them, being very, very, very implicated in their lives, always being extremely hands-on, having very strict rules, but always trying to be very loving, physically expressing my love for them, all that kind of stuff. Those little things like cuddling on the couch watching movies. I really tried to make sure that we did all those little things, so that my kids had a lot of wonderful memories. Not things related to money, but just time, that they want from their parents. So I just think all of these boys, they're missing something. I can't say it enough how important it is for each of us as parents. You can't just talk You can't sit your kid when they do something wrong and they fuck up, and you sit them down and you give them shit and you give them a punishment and okay, now you have to earn back. It's not just about that. You have to be an example. You have to show them what it is to be a good person. You have to lead with them. You can't just talk. Talk is cheap. It doesn't mean anything. It's just fluff. Actions speak louder than words. It's absolutely positively true in parenting. I hope and I pray that there will not be another mass shooting in the United States. Unfortunately, history is the best forecast for the future. And how many mass shootings has the United States had? They're at 250 plus just this year. Holy shit. My son, my 20-year-old, who looks more Latino, wanted to take a vacation in the United States this summer. And I sat down with him and we had a very heavy discussion, and I begged him not to do that. Because, and I said, I'm just reading all these articles about ICE officers and customs officers stopping Greyhound buses, demanding people's passports or citizenship records. Jesus Christ, we're in the freaking Gestapo in the United States. And I said, you want to go on vacation, go somewhere where it's going to be pleasant, no stress, you're not going to be in fear for your life, you're not going to be worried about, being singled out because of the color of your skin. So I didn't want to dictate to him. He's 20 years old. He's a young man, but we always have a lot of respect for each other, and he understood my argument and he agreed. He's, maybe you're right, and probably going to save money because of the exchange and all that. So he ended up vacationing in Ontario because I'm in Quebec. Thank God. I just want to say, if you're racist and you're spitting venom in front of your children, they're listening to it all. And they're going to repeat the same shit when they're adults. And it's going to be your fault. If you could just, for Christ's sake, look at yourself, look in the mirror, and if you are racist, if you do have biases, acknowledge that you do, to yourself if not to anybody else. Go into the communities that you have biases of. Go into the Muslim communities. Go into the Black communities. Go into the Hispanic communities, the Jewish communities. I don't care, Hindu, pick one. Whatever your racism, your bias is, go and meet them, sit with them, get to know who they are, what their culture is, what their traditions are. You probably see they're not very different from you. I think that all of these racist ideas, they come from ignorance. Doesn't come from fact. It's from some garbage you heard your father and your grandfather say, or your mother say. Go and learn for yourself. Have balls, grow a set, and go in and learn. Get your hands dirty and go meet people. You might be surprised. And then maybe you can teach your kids something different. Because I truly believe it starts with us. Each and every single one of us. And if you're an asshole, your kid's going to be an asshole. That's just the way it is. All my family in El Paso that lived there, I was so scared when I heard the shooting, and I was so terrified that somebody in my family, close or extended, was involved. And thank God they weren't. But I got to tell you, I'm in Canada. I'm thousands of miles away. And I still hit home because I have so much family there who I love and adore. It's insanity. It's just insanity. And if you're not one of those people, and if you're not a racist pig, and you hear somebody saying something ugly, say something. Do not give racism a comfortable space. For God's sakes, say something. If you don't, they think that they're allowed. They think it's okay. They think you're giving them license to spit their venom. And don't do it. Say something. Speak up. Respectfully, because I don't think that having, ugly confrontations are going to help anything. I think we have to be better. I really do. But don't give it a safe place to harvest. Don't give it a safe place to grow. It's just my opinion. It starts with each and every one of us. I hope there's For God's sakes, I hope there isn't going to be another mass shooting, but I hope. Be a good parent. Be a good example. Thank you again for stopping and No BS Parenting. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell for future videos. Hopefully the next one won't be as morbid. I wish you happiness, safety, love, unity, more than anything. Take care of each other. Be a good mom and dad. Be a good parent. Love those kids. The time flies by. Take care. We'll see you again. Bye.